The sky was cloudy without any trace of the sun. On his poorly lit room, he was biting his nails, shaking his legs while he was sitting in front of his computer, checking a reapply email from the university he applied for the second time. And for the second time, he failed to get paid scholarship. He punched the table with his hand. Countless swear words echoed in his dark room. He needed to drink some cold water. Downstairs, he found his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, in the kitchen, doing their daily routine, fighting over the house expenses and their spoiled son. Mr. Jones asked, "Tom, have you got the scholarship?" Tom answered with silence. "Don't worry, you will be accepted next time," quickly said Mrs. Jones. "You spoiled him. Look at him, unemployed in his 20s, dreaming about a college he will never join," shouted Mr. Jones. "Find a job or leave the house," Mr. Jones screamed at Tom with a red face. Tom ran to his room while his mother cried, "Tom! Tom!" He shut the door, laid down on his bed, and stared at the ceiling. Suddenly, a few minutes later, a notification popped on his phone. It was an ad about an app. "Speak without any reservation with people from all over the world," the ad says. He pressed the download button. Then a chat box opened with a stranger. His nickname was Raven 3. The chat started with greeting. They continued chatting about different stuff till 2 a.m. Thomas started talking about the email he had received earlier, then complained about his family issues and financial status. "Only a miracle can solve my problems," ironically Thomas stated. "What if I told you I have one?" Raven 3 replied. "What do you mean?" Tom asked. Then he started telling a story about a monkey's paw that he had bought at an elderly man's garage sale. The old man has only mentioned that he got it from a distant land when he was working in trades, and it had its spell put on by an old fakir, a holy who wanted to show that fate rules people's life, and that those who interference with it did so to their sorrow. Its magic spell grants 3 mans 3 wishes each, but it should be sensible, and you should bear the consequences, whatever they were. When he asked him, "What did you wish for?" he only said, "My ungratefulness turned my life into disaster." "Ha, the poor old. He must have gone completely crazy," Tom mockingly stated. "But I used the bow, and it really works," Raven 3 declared. "I doubt it. However, what did you wish for?" Tom asked. Raven 3 avoided the question by explaining the magnificent power of the monkey's bow. Raven 3 non-stop tried to convince Tom and told him that he will help and sell it for him if he wants. Tom didn't believe him, saying, "This can't be true," and then he fell asleep. The next morning, Tom woke up on the door knocking. It was his mother, bringing breakfast. She sat down on the bed and said, "Tom, you can't be angry at your dad forever. He only does this because he wants you to work and assist us. I know all your friends joined college, but it's okay if you didn't. You can still do other stuff you like, and I and your father will support you." Tom couldn't get rid of the idea. His friends are in college, and he was here doing nothing. He held his phone and opened the chat with Raven 3 and wrote, "I want to buy the POW." The next day, Tom got downstairs and ran into his father. "Be useful and throw the garbage," Mr. Jones says. In his way to throw the garbage outside the house, Tom saw a package in the ground. Tom rushed to his room and opened the package. That's not what I accepted. Now totally I think I've been fooled. But I'll try it anyway," Tom thought. "I wish to join the university," Tom wished. The bow moved in his hand like a snake. Stunned, he dropped it on the floor. Sitting on his bed, Tom waited and waited, although nothing happened. Later, while he was playing on his computer, he received a call from his mother saying he had to come to the hospital right away. A million thoughts crossed Tom's mind on his way. Mrs. Jones was standing in front of the intensive care unit, shaking, and her eyes were red. "Tom, your father collapsed in his work. The doctor said he's in critical condition. He's in final stage of cardiomyopathy," Mrs. Jones shakily said. Tom leaned to the wall, unable to stand. "This can't be true. He was just fine this morning. He needed a little therapy and everything will be okay," forlornly Tom said. In the intensive care unit, Tom hardly looked at his father's face. After a while, the doctor came to talk with him. "I see that Mr. Jones have an insurance, but unfortunately in his case it's useless," the doctor said. Mrs. Jones gasped. "Why would you say such a thing, doctor?" "Well, he's in final stage of the illness. His big chance is to transplant a heart. We put his name on the donors list, but it's a long list," the doctor explained, and left the family alone. Mr. Jones looked at Tom with a pale smile. "I know how bad my condition is. I'm sorry for not being the father you want. Take the insurance money to join the college." "Huh, at least something good will come out of your father," Mr. Jones said. Tom's eyes almost got out of its place, and his tongue hardly could move to say anything. In Tom's room, as he drowned in his thoughts, he couldn't think of a savior except the stranger, Raven 3. Yes, he can help me, Tom believed. He waited for a response, but there was none. Early in the next morning, Tom woke up and went downstairs, and there he found his mother. "Try to eat something. I'm going to buy some supplies for your dad and visit him." "Goodbye," Mrs. Jones said. Tom desperately checked his phone again and again. There was no reply. "The POW! I can wish for an organ," Tom thought. He rushed to his room and wished for the second time, biting his lips, strongly grabbing his hand, waiting for something to happen. "I'm going crazy if I stayed like this. I'll go for a walk," Tom said. After walking 2 blocks, he found a group of people gathering around an ambulance car. Then he noticed the family car crashed into a lamppost. "Mom! Mom! What happened?" Tom shouted while they were taking his mother. The paramedics told him to go with them. "We did our best, but the injury was so serious. I'm sorry to inform you that your mother has brainstem death," the doctor said. "You're lying. She was okay. This can't be real," stuttered Tom. "There is nothing we could do in her case. I know it's not the right time to say this. However, there is a hope for your father. If you give us permission to transplant an organ from your mother, he has a big chance to recover," the doctor said. Tom collapsed in the floor, laughing out loud as if he lost his mind. In the hospital bathrooms, Tom washed his face while there was some man standing next to him, shaving his face with a razor blade. "Why you're here, boy? I saw you a couple of times, but you look more miserable now." Then a woman opened the door, only her yelling, "Come on, our son is here." The man put the razor on the sink before he washed his face and hurried out. Tom kept his eyes on the empty place the man had left. Inside the bathroom, Tom was sitting on the floor, and his back toward the bathroom door. "It's all because of my egoist wishes. I am the one who should be punished," remorsefully Tom thought, as he was attempting to put the razor blade on his shaky wrist, shivering in his place, hopelessly when the paw fell from his pocket.